picked it up, right?
Please take your seats and we'll get started. I'm going to ask our editorial board chairwoman, Jerry Jean Branstetter, to open with a blessing.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today blessing the Osage News debate and their candidates and all those that are participating today. We ask you to be with our mourners. We ask you to be with our tribe members wherever they might be, that they can come to some conclusions today and help them with the candidates and what they bring to the tribe. We ask these things in your humble name. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Tara McLean-Manthe of the editorial board for the Osage News. And on behalf of Jerry Jean and Teresa Tremblay-Lansome and I, welcome to the Osage News primary candidate debate. We're so glad to have a full house here. Please make room for the folks coming in and point out any open seats as we see them. So we will want to have a few notes of thanks before we begin. So thanks to the casino for hosting us here today, to our Osage communications team. They're live streaming us across the internet so all of our Osages can participate. As always, we're so grateful to the Osage News staff who are working hard this week to put the newspaper out and then come here to start another news cycle with us. We're welcome our timekeeper, Mackenzie Astrag from BNN. And thanks also to the Tribal Works for help and Crosswind News. And I think I got everybody. Okay, thank you. We know that one of the most important duties of an Osage citizen is selecting our leadership. And this election will be particularly meaningful as we select our first new principal chief in over 10 years. So this person will be very influential in the years to come and will impact our nation for generations to come. So we're excited for you all to hear from them today and in the coming months as we get ready to vote. And as candidates vie for this opportunity to serve, they do so understanding that their deeds, their lives, their actions, their internet history are all in the spotlight. So we're running for office is not for the faint of heart, and we're grateful to our candidates for all of the time and treasure you're investing in this candidacy. And as we embark on this debate, we want to encourage everyone to do so with civility, respect, and a shared commitment to the betterment of our nation. And we'll start today with our principal chief debate, and then assistant chief, and then we'll have a community dinner. So if you can stick out through the whole thing, you'll be rewarded. Thanks again for being here. We're going to dive right into it, so I'm going to invite our candidates for principal chief to take the stage. Scott BigHorse, Amanda GoodEagle, and Joe Tillman. And as they make their way up here, I'm going to read the rules. They're also in your program. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to open with a statement, and then 1 minute at the end for a closing statement to wrap up. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions, and then 1 minute for rebuttal. Candidates will answer in alphabetical order, and then for the first question, and then alternate afterwards. You'll have a 30-second warning sign, so you know to wrap it up, and we will keep things shortened for, I'll cut you off when we need to, so you've been warned. And then we'll have 1 minute for rebuttals. Let's see, you'll have rebuttals in the same order you responded to this question. All the answers should remain civil. Candidates refrain from personal attacks on each other, and reserve the right to disqualify anyone who cannot adhere to the rules. We will have we'll start with this. We have our questions submitted by community members, supplemented by the Osage News. The Osage News editorial board selected the questions. They are completely randomized, so we'll pull the first 6 questions from the pile, and then we will, have another debate, so we will use them again. Anything else, Shannon? All right. Well, we will get started. Okay, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and we're going to go in alphabetical order by last name. So we'll start with Scott BigHorse, then Amanda GoodEagle, then Joe Tillman. And whenever you're ready, please begin.
Turn your mic off. Okay. Everybody needs to turn their mics off except for Scott. Turn your mic on.
Testing. Merry Christmas. Yes.
Testing.
Turn them off. Turn them off.
Okay. We got you on. Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I want to thank the Osage News for providing this opportunity for us to come up to speak to you all. I want to recognize a few people. Miss GoodEagle over here, Auntie, and Aunt Jerry Jean, and Aunt Nancy Kyle. All of these are elders within our tribe. And the way we were brought up, we always acknowledge our elders. Again, I want to thank you for allowing us to have this debate. Most of you in here know me. I served as a state representative, and then from there, I went back to construction for a little bit and got to thinking about it, and decided to run for assistant chief. Ran for assistant chief and was elected. Served 4 years there, and we went through some turmoil during that administration. So I decided again to step out for a moment, and looking in, it looked like it was a good time to come in and try to help out, and that's all I want to do is try to help everybody, from our veterans down all the way to our elders and our little children, and one thing that I think that we don't pay enough attention to is our mental health issues, and our veterans and their PTSD, and our little children that are born with not all of their faculties, and those children tend to get left out. And I've worked with those kind of children for 15 years. That was after I spent 15 years working in an adult prison system. Thank you.
Is Scott's mic off?
Yeah, turn your mic off. Woo. That's rough. Sorry.
My name is Amanda.
It's not working. Scott, go ahead. Turn that off. Scott, go ahead and give her your microphone.
There we go. We'll get through it.
My name is Amanda GoodEagle. I am an attorney. I have the biggest private law practice in Osage County, and I worked for many years for a lawyer named Bransford Shoemaker. Bransford would tell people that I'm the best lawyer who ever came out of Elgin, Kansas. Elgin, Kansas was my mother's home. I have also been a gaming commissioner. I've been a tax commissioner, an economic development commissioner, a housing commissioner, a housing director, and I am a sitting Supreme Court justice for another tribe. So I've worn many hats. The first part of my legal career, I worked exclusively for tribes. I worked for casinos, I worked for housing authorities, I worked for tax commissions, I worked for tribal governments. I've probably been the Attorney General for half the tribes in the state of Oklahoma. And I switched the focus of my practice about 10 years ago. Now the majority of my practice is criminal defense and domestic law here in Osage County. And in that capacity, I've gotten to know a lot of you personally. I've gotten to know about a lot of the social problems and economic problems that are plaguing our Osage citizens. Most of my individual clients are Osage tribal members or Native Americans. So I see what the voids are, I see what the needs are, and I believe that I'm the person to help be part of this team to address those needs. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I've got 3 young boys. I know what it's like to raise children without assistance. And I know what it's like for young men to grow up without a male influence in the home, which is a problem that pervades many of our families. Thank you.
Turn up yours. Good, try it out.
Fingers crossed. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank Almighty God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving all of us here this opportunity to vet our candidates for a very high position of Chief and Assistant Chief of the Osage Nation. I want to thank my family for being here. Aunt Nancy, I love you. Thank you for being here with me once again. My brother Chuck, I want to thank you for coming over and being with us today. It means so much to me. My wife, Cindy, I think we're going on 23, 24 years. And thanks for being by my side. I know it's not always easy, but thank you for being right there beside me all the way. My mother-in-law, Judy, who was very instrumental in some of the things that I've done and some of the pounds I've put on over the years, and I thank her for that. But all my family, Amanda and Chanley, the folks that are here, my daughter couldn't be here today. She was negotiating for a new car today in Tulsa, so my fingers are crossed there as well. I want to thank all of our elders who are here with us today. You're precious to us, and you always will be. You always will be. I'd like to thank the listeners, the public, all of you that are in attendance today, all the at-large Osages and the Osage News for putting on this event. I do want to start by saying that we have a lot of momentum within the Osage Nation. The previous administration, we have the senior housing, the clinic, the harvest land, cemeteries, the assisted living, judicial buildings and legislative buildings, and we need to keep our resources going to keep that momentum going and what we've sustained to keep the Osage Nation great. Thank you.
Will you grab them?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah. These have been freshly randomized, and I'm going to grab the first 6 and read the question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Okay,
The first question, how will you ensure responsible financial management, transparency, and accountability, and what is your experience with budgeting or complex financial oversight? That's a question the Osage News editorial board, Osage News submitted, and we'll start with Ms. GoodEagle.
In terms of my background, I have a degree from Harvard. I also have a Juris Doctorate degree. I'm well educated when it comes to financial matters. As I said earlier, I've been an Attorney General for multiple tribes, and in that capacity, I have had to help tribes formulate policies for internal controls and best practices and to implement those policies. I have had to negotiate on behalf of tribal clients with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and various federal agencies for things like budgets and overhead costs and Indian housing plans, things of that nature. And when the tribes get in trouble because they have not properly budgeted their money, they've not properly spent or accounted for their money, I'm the person that comes in and runs interference with those federal agencies, to include the National Indian Gaming Commission. I've represented several tribes in compliance issues that resulted in administrative enforcement actions with that agency as well as other agencies. One of the biggest problems with tribes is they don't spend their money, believe it or not. It's not a question of overspending, it's a question of underspending. And if you don't spend that money within a certain time frame, generally 2 years from when that money is made available to you, it's lost. So I've certainly helped tribes in that vein. I also started out my career in the Indian housing world. I was an Indian housing assistant before being promoted to an Indian housing director. And I was the director of housing for a very large, newly recognized tribe in Michigan that had one of the biggest housing budgets probably in the nation. And we were able to keep that tribe firing on all of its cylinders. Thank you.
For the question, Osage News, and we talk about financial ability and oversight. And as I've campaigned in the past before on this issue many times, that the Osage Nation as a whole, we're kind of behind the curve as far as what we have in our savings account. The pandemic of 2020 and COVID exposed us to the fact that the money that we had in our permanent fund, our savings account, could sustain us for 6 to 7 months. That scares me. When a pandemic of that nature happened, everything shut down. We did the math. We looked at how far we could go into the future, and it wasn't very far. And this world today, today's day and age, is still a scary place. Something else could happen. We've grown a little bit, but not to the point where we can stay for even a year. Even a year. Think about that. One thing that I do have a big concern with is our investment oversight committee that we have. And it is my understanding that we have $1.2 to $1.4 million just sitting there laying on the table. We haven't made a trade since 2024 in our portfolio. Think about that. Since 2024, now here it's just a simple document that we have to sign to engage that money to come back to the tribe. 1.2, 1.4 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it is. It is a tremendous amount of money. And as far as budgets go, that's what I've been on Congress for 10 years. Our CISO session, that's what we do. We approve over 100 budgets. And so I'm very familiar with those, but we spend money. We spend it. Sometimes I think we need to tap the brakes and save it. So, thank you.
Got a mic? Okay, you go.
Oh. Thank you for that question. I started off, 2003. I was selected, handpicked to come up and open up a juvenile detention center. And it happened to be co-facilitated inside our county jail, which was totally unheard of, especially here in Oklahoma. There were 2 existing ones in the nation. So I gathered the ACA standards, the Correctional Association standards for a juvenile facility, and I read them throughout. And I went out and I helped turn the pod that the juveniles were going to be kept in into a sight and sound separation, so that the adults would be separated from the children and the children would never see the adults. And we accomplished that. And with that come a budget. We were budgeted at about $360,000 a year. which was very tight, especially when you're having to take care of medical needs, you're having to take care of food, you're having to take care of snacks, you're having to take care of clothing and bedding, all of those things that you need inside a facility to take care of people. And it's not just people, it was juveniles. And that's where my heart lays. I worked with the abused, deprived, neglected, and the adjudicated. And that's where I got my experience working with budgets. And then I've worked for the past 2 terms with appropriations. As Congressman Tillman said, we appropriate over 100 budgets. We don't spend money, we appropriate money. Thank you.
Our next question from the Osage News.
Oh, there's a rebuttal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Why don't you just hang on to one of those? They can just pass it around.
So the Osage Congress has the power of the purse. These 2 gentlemen have been on the Congress for decades. So if they identify a problem, they should have fixed it. Can any of you go online? Can you go to a portal? Can you look at a report? Or you mailed a report that talks about where our money goes? No. You could if it was Walmart or if it was Phillips 66, if you were a stockholder in any other corporation. This is a multi-million-dollar enterprise. I know for a fact that there's an attorney who the Attorney General of our nation delegates much of his work to. That attorney makes about $1 million a year. He's not Indian. He's the de facto Attorney General of this tribe. I have asked multiple people, including Congress members, what his billings are. No one will tell me. I can't figure it out. As a lawyer who knows the power of subpoena, who knows how to write a demand letter, I can't get it.
Pass your mic. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity for the rebuttal. I just would like to remind the Osage Nation citizens that every meeting that we have is broadcast. It's broadcast live. And then we archive all the committee meetings, all the regular session meetings, so that information is there for you to go back and look at. And if you have any problems locating where that is, just call the office and they'll help you and guide you to a particular meeting, whether it be whatever committee it may be. So there is that archive facilities that we have for you to go back and listen and to keep up with the meetings that we have and the money that we're appropriating, the money that the executive is spending. So thank you.
If everybody can remember back when I was assistant chief, and we had an LLC at that time, a gentleman that was hired, I don't know if anybody even looked into his background, but I started asking questions. I started looking for documents on where we were partnered with numerous companies, and I could not get any information out of those folks. I would get a lot of computer-generated fluff, but they were going to Congress and asking for millions and millions of dollars, and we were $17 million into them at that time, and we never got anything from that gentleman. And I know that he was taken to court by the tribe, but I don't know what the outcome was of that. So at that time, I wasn't an elected official at that time.
Okay, now we got all the bugs out. We're going to start rolling from here. Thank you. Okay, this next question comes from the Osage News. What specific initiatives will you pursue to strengthen the Osage Reservation, its towns, infrastructure, environment, and overall quality of life? And we'll start with Congressman Tillman.
you for the question. And to strengthen the reservation, just in my opinion, there's a lot of things that need to be done. One is affordable housing. Affordable housing that we can offer to a range of our constituents. I know there are members at large in the Oklahoma area and other states that would like to move back to the reservation, to Osage County, but we don't have homes for them to live in and bring their families. I would also like to address the education factor of we're missing out when our state ranks 50th dead last in education in our public schools, and we have got to do something. We've got to address this problem. It's a huge issue. It is. The other thing that to strengthen our reservation is going to be make sure that we do have the infrastructure and the clean drinking water and the ability to not be afraid to go and run tap water and use it for whatever we need to use it for. That's very important to me as well. Our streets, our bridges, our road crews, everything that makes this an attractive place to come back to. That's what I envision to strengthen our reservation, but also our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is very important. We're being attacked by this Governor Stitt, and I'm sure you all are very aware of things that he has addressed to Indian country. Most recently, his veto of House Bill 1137 having to deal with missing, murdered indigenous people. And it was a simple Ida's law fix on the federal fund side to be able to go and move forward with that initiative, and he has vetoed that. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at. One is the election of governor and who's going to be our next governor. And we have to have that ability to work with that person, oppose that person, and have those conversations at that level. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
What specific initiatives will you pursue to strengthen the Osage Reservation, its towns, infrastructure, environment, and overall quality of life?
Thank you. And I want to commend our group that put together our water symposium, because that brought our town leaders into this area with us so that we could all sit down at the table and hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of our water situation. I was glad to hear that we are looking at purchasing Rural Water District number 21 out west here, which affects a lot of our tribal members. It affects about 100 residents on the west side of Pawhuska, and that's something that I want to really look into, is purchasing some of these rural water districts within our reservation boundaries. A good example of that is the Potawatomis, Mr. Rocky Barrett. I was a state representative when he got elected as chairman of the Citizen Band of Potawatomis. Since that time, he has purchased every rural water district within his reservation boundaries, and they are now being operated and controlled by the Citizen Band of Potawatomis, and they're not having any water problems. Our native peoples can take better care of our lands and our waters through the knowledge that has been passed on from generation to generation. And I would just love for us to venture off into talking to our city, county, state, and even federal officials about us owning more of what is in our treaty, our water rights. Thank you.
Wait,
Just leave it on a fuse flip.
here's, let me, just hold on.
So the Osage Nation has a reservation, and despite what the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals may say, it has never been disestablished. It's an underground reservation. It's an inch below the surface. It's the mineral estate. And that's what makes us different than any other tribe. I believe in economic development that's culturally appropriate. I think the ranch is one of the best enterprises that we could have possibly engendered. I understand that we have hunting lodges and hunting facilities that the tribe has acquired but not applied to their highest use, not used at all. I think we need to take an inventory of all the lands that we've purchased and make sure that those lands and buildings are being used for the best and highest purposes for the Osage Nation. I think we need to get our head rights back. I think we need to restore the Osage Mineral Trust. I've been trying to do that for over 20 years. The lawyers on the case of Fletcher versus the United States joke that our case is old enough to drink, because it is. And that is a lawsuit that has had successful outcomes at all levels of the United States court system, including the Court of Claims. It is still active. It needs the help of the nation. The nation plows its resources into pointless lawsuits, saying that we don't have to pay taxes. That's never a good legal position. Saying that some criminal defendant convicted of murder should have his case overturned and tried in the tribal court. That's not a good position. The good position is that our mineral estate is still intact. Let's work on it.
1 minute for rebuttal, and if you can pass the mic, and you can leave it on since we don't have the other ones to cause such havoc. We'll start with Congressman Tillman.
Speaking of our minerals estate, we do have a good minerals council. And I have a good relationship with a number of them. We have been in dialogue and talking about the future and some of the things that need to take place. And I don't want to get off into those issues because some of those people are using those topics in their candidacy. But I have been talking with the Minerals Council about ways of fixing things. And one thing that I want to do is I want to start purchasing our own tank trucks to help to haul our own oil so that we have down to the drop how much oil we're actually producing. And that's about as far as I'm going to go because I'll be getting into somebody else's campaign speech. But yes, minerals is a top priority. It is the glue that's holding us together. Thank you.
Okay, good. Just as far as strengthening the reservation, I can't be amiss and not talk about healthcare. And for people to come back and strengthen us, even our sovereignty. The new clinic is wonderful. It offers a variety of services. I'm very, very proud that the Osage people now have a clinic that they can go to for multiple services. And that makes a big difference when people choose a place to come and be. And I want to give credit to the health board, Michael Bristow. Thank you and your team for doing what you do. I know it's a work in progress. I know there's many things left undone, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm receiving fewer phone calls about wait time to get in to see their physicians. So keeping our people healthy through wellness, keeping our people healthy through efficiency is very important. And that wellness piece of it is something that is going to be a major player coming into the future. And we have to check ourselves and look at the health of our nation because it creates healthy bodies and healthy minds.
Great, thank you all. One more. No, we did one.
Go back. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to rebut something that Mr. BigHorse said about the Minerals Council. We're all on the same team. I am not going to be afraid to interface with the Minerals Council or the tribal court or the Congress. I have gone to Chief Standing Bear for help multiple times on behalf of my clients dealing with various issues. And every time Chief Standing Bear tells me, it's not my branch, it's not my department, I can't help you, sorry. That's not the kind of chief that I'm going to be. Because we're all on the same team, and that team is Osage Nation. And we need to work together to solve the problems and stop tiptoeing around about other branches of government or other outside agencies. Because that's not how things get done, that's how things get gridlocked. Thank you.
Okay, now we've done all our requests. Our third question comes from Kira Johnson-Reyes in Owasso. How will you build upon the investments achieved in the previous administration concerning Osage Nation food sovereignty? What does food sovereignty mean to you? And we'll start with Congressman BigHorse.
Well, come with COVID, come a lot of money, and we were fortunate. We had a good team up there that was looking in the future. And what I'm talking about is our butcher house and our Bird Creek Farms. The ability to have a ranch and grow our own beef and maybe bison and have our own butcher house cutting that meat. And I don't know if you realize it or not, but there is legislation out there that passed for everyone to receive X amount of dollars of meat from the butcher house starting in June of 26, I believe. But those are things that are food sovereignty. We need to get our Bird Creek Farms out on the main street a little bit more, but they do grow fabulous vegetables there. And so the water, the ranch with the beef and the bison and our vegetables, that is food sovereignty. So we need to continue to build on that and continue to grow our herds and continue to make sales. I know this past year they sold calves that were near $2 million. And everybody's wondering about our dividends. Well, our dividends are going to increase. They have been around 500,000 to $1 million. So I look for them to increase. Thank you.
So I have a son, he's 24 years old, and his name is Grayson. And if you know him, you know he's as handsome as a movie star. He really is. And when he was a young boy, he was very, very overweight. He was morbidly overweight. And our doctor had told us that if he didn't change his lifestyle, his growth plates would fuse together. He would never achieve his intended height. And I'm sorry that my mother didn't live long enough to see him now, because he's sleek as a racehorse. And the reason is that when he was very young, he went to the Seminole Nation to a camp that they have for the children, where they teach the children how to eat and how to have healthy lifestyles. And that camp really changed his life. And the Seminole tribe would send him notices asking him to come back in periodically to have his vital signs measured to see how things were going. And we did that. And something like that needs to happen here at the Osage. People are dying. People are suffering. I have several friends my age and younger who have cancer, some of them who are in this room. And that is an affliction that in part arises from unhealthy eating. So to me, food sovereignty means a chance to change lives, to eat healthy. I was an anthropology major at Harvard, and I learned that the reason why Native people suffer with diabetes is because for 15,000 years we lived a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. For about 200 years we've been living an agrarian lifestyle full of starch. And that's how diabetes was allowed to take hold. And I want to establish a dialysis clinic. I wanted to do that for years. And that's still at the top of my list of initiatives. But we have to change how we eat, and it starts here. Thank you.
How will you build upon the investments achieved in the previous administration concerning Osage Nation food sovereignty? What does food sovereignty mean to you?
Food sovereignty. I always go back and look at a poster that I had of Chief Bacon Ryan. I know I've said this before, but it's worth bringing up now. My poster of Chief Bacon Ryan has him sitting there with no shirt on. It's a bear claw necklace. It's a beaver cap. It's a black and white poster. He's looking very stoic, very regal. And it says underneath the poster, "Do you think he had pizza and pop for lunch?" He says, "No." And he didn't have diabetes either. And it lists the foods that he ate: the bison, the deer, the elk, the nuts, the berries, the fruits, all of those things. But he was also very active. And we need to get back to that lifestyle. There's a gentleman's name who's an Osage. His name is Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs owns Takabe. Takabe is an Osage Nation eatery. They ship food all over the United States, and I think they're also globally. But if you'll go to YouTube and look at some of the things that they are doing from the Takabe restaurant, it is amazing. It is amazing. And the quality of food that they're putting into their trays to send out all over the world is squash, it's bison, it's hominy, it's different dishes that they have. They have a restaurant in Denver, and they're also in the airport, Denver International Airport. They also have a restaurant there as well. We got a guy in hominy named Scott Lobo. He grows tremendous hominy, and I mean, it is precious. And we need to take advantage of that. I don't know if you'd share it with us or not, but we could get some things going out at Harvest Land, which we have out here, which we built with COVID money. And we have greenhouses indoors. We could grow so much food and feed everybody in this room on a daily basis. We just have to have the resources to keep this production and make it work right and properly. And we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttals.
Just a coattail on Congressman Tillman about Scott Loho. I went down and had a visit with him, and yes, he is into growing all of our natural plants that he can. The corn that he grows it's amazing, and he shares it. If you ever need hominy and you want some of that speckled hominy, Scott Loho is a place to go. And he is someone that I have tapped into and talked to. We missed out on buying some property that had an aquifer that had good clean water in it, and we just missed it by just a hair. But he knows where these places are, and he knows how to grow. So I just want to give him a shout out and a pat on the back. Thank you.
Can you pass it? Okay, we're good. Joe, one more rebuttal.
Sure.
You know, again, this is going to take all of us working together and getting the resources together to make these types of things happen. And I always think about the next generation and the generation after that, and growing healthy minds and bodies within our youth and our young. So when I talk about Takabe, when I talk about Harvest Land, and we have those resources to make this happen, it's very, very important to us to take advantage of that. What about our own grocery stores? What about our own retail places that have meats available, that have fruits and vegetables available? That's something that we need to seriously consider going forward. And when we go to our traditional dinners in the summer and you look at the fried bread and the meat gravy and the grape dumplings and this,
Alex Stroin in Hominy. What are your plans to address the missing and murdered Indigenous peoples pandemic? And how would you implement safety for Osage members and employees from abuse or harassment. And we'll start with Ms. GoodEagle.
I also have a big private practice in the Osage tribal court system. And in the Osage tribal court system, I have helped many tribal members with various cases involving safety issues. You may not realize it, but the protective order system is one of the most abused systems that there is. Not just here locally, but throughout the state and probably throughout the nation, where people get protective orders that don't meet the criteria of the statute, that don't rise to the level of true domestic violence, and as a means to gain custody or to gain access to property. Our tribal court system needs to be overhauled. And I realize that that's a separate branch, but that doesn't mean that I can't add value as an attorney who practices there every day, because the protective order system is being cheapened. There are parents who have not seen their children for years and years because of bogus protective orders. There is no gatekeeper for protective orders within the Osage tribe. There's not. The domestic violence program at the Osage tribe, it's out of control. And the judges see it too. And the local attorneys see it. There are cases where the so-called perpetrator is an Osage Indian and the so-called victim is not. And the victim's the one getting services for allegations that don't even rise to the level of a protective order. A protective order is there for intimate partner violence that threatens life and limb. It's not there for the baloney that we see. Thank you.
Congressman Tillman.
Testing. Alex, thank you for the question. Time kills all deals. And time is our enemy when it comes down to missing, murdered Indigenous people or women. We have to know quickly so we can engage with our authorities. We have to know as soon as possible when these violations happen, because sometimes they take 2, 3, 4 days before they even report it, and by then it's very, very difficult for the experts, the justice system, to do properly what they need to do. So think about that, and how can we get to a point to where we understand. I mean, if my daughter's missing more than an hour, I'm on the phone. I'm asking questions. Where is she? When's the last time you saw her? I don't want to sit and wait for a day or two and think that, oh, they just went to see someone and they're okay. Don't think that way. Take action now. We also need to educate constantly what this means and the value of communication. Even during dinners that we hold, hand games that we have, it's always a good thing to get up and speak about the MMIP. So through education, through our schools, we need to teach our young students at a very young age the signs of what a situation that they may be getting into, whether it be at home, whether it be at school, whether it be wherever it may be. Bring that education value into the schools that we have, even in our own systems here at Osage Nation. So working with the local authorities on this critical issue, I'm always so pleased and happy when they find the missing ones, but there are plenty of open cases out there. And we are so understaffed. And that again goes back to Governor Stitt's veto of House Bill 1137, which took away the federal funding of Ida's law. And he took that away. And so there's a lot of Native American tribes that are very upset with that. Thank you.
This is a tough question. I lost a daughter this past year in Denver, Colorado. Me, myself, I would like to talk to the authorities, starting with the FBI, and then I would go to OSBI, and I would work with our own law enforcement, our Attorney General, to create a position for a detective that solely works on nothing but missing Indigenous women. And I would like to see us work in coordination with Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations, because they have some very, very good tools, and we could learn things off of them. And I would like to see one of our young officers. We've got several young officers. I would like to see them assigned to that seasoned detective that's going to be looking for these missing children. And that person can learn from the older, more experienced detective. But we do need a detective that specializes in that field alone. I know, I've worked in law enforcement, in the prison system. I worked with the FBI. I worked against the Mexican mafia. So all of those doors are open to us. All we have to do is go knock on them and sit down and talk to them and tell them what our problems are. I've sat down and talked to Mr. Trout, who was the Native American liaison for the Federal Bureau of Investigations. I don't know who's there now, but we can sure find out.
So the missing and murdered Indigenous woman epidemic, that is the manifestation of problems that occur way down the chain. It's the manifestation of problems with substance abuse, with domestic violence, with poverty, with lack of education and being under-resourced, depression, mental health issues, homelessness. We have to attack the problems down here at this level before they manifest here. And again, if our tribal court and our codes were revamped to address the real issues and make protective orders meaningful, there would be so much improvement in our society from one end of the community to the other. Because right now that tribal court system is dysfunctional in regard to domestic violence.
Thank you, and once again, it's a matter of results. It's a matter of getting something done. It's a matter of you all holding your next chief accountable into this area. And don't forget about it. And the new chief should not forget about it. We have a Osage Nation Police Department, and they need to be trained and they need to be aware. The state OSBI has, I think, 2 people working 690 cases, open cases. And there's probably more than that go unreported. So it's about education within our own. We need to take care of ourselves here first, Osage County, and protect our children, protect our young, protect our people. And that can be done. And I promise you I will work on that. Thank you.
Yes, that is something that is sure enough at the top of probably all of our lists. It's a serious issue. We see it every day in the news. We know what's going on, and we know what's not being done. So those are the things that we need to focus on. We need to assess, and we need to focus on what we need to do to protect our own.
Thank you all. Our next question comes from Jim Trumbley in Pawhuska. With the explosion of artificial intelligence, the importance of tribes to protect their data sovereignty is becoming even more critical. What are your thoughts regarding digital or data sovereignty? And we'll start with Congressman Tillman.
That's a good question, and I'm glad that we brought this up. You know, cybersecurity, AI, the internet, artificial intelligence. I want to develop an office that we protect our elders from these predators online who try to take their data and use it against them or drain money out of their bank accounts. And our elders, we say, are precious to us, and they are victims of these crimes, where these people out here who sit in these dark holes come after our elders. Ask them. I get funny calls all the time asking me for if I want to invest, and my credit rating has been boosted and all they need is a social security number. And how easy is that for a confused elder to think that this is maybe an opportunity for me? So we need to look at that. But AI and data, it's a scary thing. It's real. And we go out to Skyway 36 and we're looking at drones, unmanned drones, things flying around with no human beings inside. I had a knee replacement surgery in July, and I walked in there and there's a robot standing there going to do my surgery, help the surgeon. I was out in San Francisco about 2 months ago, got into a car with no driver. It drove me all around the city. That's the way of the world, folks. That's what's coming, and that's what we're staring at. Is it scary? It's scary to me. It's frightening to me. But we have to understand it. We have to grasp it. We have to embrace it. And we have to learn from it so we can protect all of our Osage citizens at whatever cost. Thank you.
Yes, I agree that our personal data needs to be protected to its highest level. And the AI issue is scary. There are pros and cons to it. What scares me is them building an AI data center within our boundaries and it not being the right type of facility. There's certain facilities out there that have cooling systems, and they don't require the amount of water that some of these other ones do. And there's one that's proposed down north of Sand Springs that we talked about during our water symposium. And that one that's being proposed down there, it's going to utilize from 300 million to 500 million barrels of water a day. Now, where are they going to pull that water from? The closest place is Skytook Lake and the Arkansas River. And I don't think that they cannot sustain that type of water draw. So I don't know who the powers are behind the data center, but I do know that the citizens of Sand Springs have stood up against it, and we need to join them, and we need to stand up against it, unless it is one of these data centers that are going to be very important to us, that have their own cooling systems, and they don't drain our natural resources.
So if you go out to this gaming floor in this casino, you'll see many gaming machines. And I don't think any of those gaming machines are owned by the tribe. They've all got stickers on the front that might say AGS or Aristocrat. Those are the vendors who own those machines. And those machines are connected to some server in Chicago through a cloud, and that server is drawing bingo cards, because some of those games are what we call bingo facsimiles. And if one of those games has some sort of a malfunction, or if there's some sort of dysfunction when it comes to calculating the vendor's take and the prize and the withholdings, it can cause major problems that I've dealt with as an attorney. When we talk about sovereignty, we're talking about doing something for ourselves. So when we speak of data sovereignty, that means protecting our data from any sort of threat ourselves. And I think that is highly necessary. So what I would propose is that there be a high-ranking executive employee whose mission is to protect our data from outside intrusion and also for administrative purposes. I mean, all of these programs that are under the umbrella of the tribe, I'll take housing for example, there's applications, there's supporting documents for applications, like tax returns, like deeds, all of that has to be stored electronically. And some of my clients are using companies in Texas and Chicago and various other places to provide those functions. It needs to stay here.
All right, 1 minute rebuttals.
I'm really serious about this, protecting our elders, because I know they're the victims. And so my office, if elected to be principal chief, and I talked about it in my 500 freebie in the Osage News, as we're going to develop a elders contact office specifically designed to contact our elders on a day-to-day basis, how many of them ever there are, and at least to give a phone call to check up on them, see how you're doing, what's going on with you, any concerns that you have, and ask them questions about people encroaching on their data, their computers, their phones. And I think it's a very good step in the right direction. I talked to our IT director one day, I'm not going to name any names, a few years back, and he was talking about the attacks that we have on our servers, our IT, our internet, just for the nation. He says it's every day, every day.
As we all know, the bad actors out there, they're out there and they're good. All we can do is the best that we can do. And that means put up the strongest defense that we can find out there that is available. And I know that we've had good IT directors. They've done a good job. They've kept us pretty well safe. But things are rising around the world. These people they know that it's easy money. And they know that they can sit practically in a home for nothing and make millions of dollars. But they're preying on us. As Congressman Tillman said, we need our own office that our elders can contact. And I would also like to see our own veterans office so that our veterans have a place to go to and an expert to talk to.
I just wanted to rebut something that Congressman BigHorse said. I don't think that data centers are inherently bad. It all depends on access to water. We have got to diversify our economic revenue stream. And the future is technology. It's drones. Maybe it is data centers. I mean, those would have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But we can't take a wholesale exclusionary approach to that. We have to be open-minded. Because even with our air park, children, including my middle son, are learning how to fly drones and program drones. We've already ushered in this era of technology. And it's a good thing that needs to be continued. Thank you.
Okay, our last question comes from Leah Waller. What specific plans do you have to address the housing shortage within the Osage Nation for all Osage families? And we'll start with Congressman BigHorse.
Thank you. I have been in touch with our housing director, and him and I have been discussing some of the new, I don't know, you can call them tiny homes, but they can be built on a tiny scale, but they can also be upscaled to a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and they are very high wind resistant, and they are 3D manufactured. And the Call Nation has started this over there. So Mr. Wallace and I are going to go over when they build their next home, which is here in just a few weeks. We're going to go over and observe and see how they're doing that. And we're going to try to bring the same thing back to our reservation. And we want to start building homes that are for, I would like to see them rent to own, but at least rent them at a reasonable price of $300 to $400. Right now we have people that are buying up homes here in Pawhuska, and they're charging people that I know from $800 to $1,000 a month for a little 2 or 3 bedroom home here in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And that's not right. We have got to do something to fix this for our youngsters coming up and our elders.
So I was a career housing director before I ever thought about being a lawyer. And the special emphasis of my law practice for many years was the Indian housing industry. And I have done all sorts of things with housing money, because you can spend housing money not just on brick and mortar housing, but on housing related activities. And that includes parks, that includes boys and girls clubs, that includes various kinds of infrastructure. Anything that serves a low-income housing resident counts. I've built apartment complexes, I've built multifamily housing, single-family housing, community facilities. Anything you can think of, we've done. But what I think needs to happen is we need to expand our housing service area. It is very simple. There is a grant document called an Indian Housing Plan. It is the Bible for your housing program. And there's a simple box you can check about the scope of the area where you will be deploying services. And you can expand the area and you can contract the area. So I think our basic programs, such as down payment assistance, such as lease to purchase housing, such as home repair and rehabilitation, we've got to get into these other counties. There are plenty of Osages in Payne County, Osages in Kay County, Osages in Washington County, Osages in Tulsa County. They need access to these programs too. And it is possible by checking that box and justifying the reason. We could take some of these programs nationwide, and maybe we have. The down payment assistance program is a real good one. That program is so great because what we do is we contribute to the family's down payment, and we don't have to mess with them anymore. We don't have to wonder if they're making their payments on time. We don't have to wonder if they're doing auto work in their front yard. Let the Bank of Oklahoma worry about that.
What specific plans do you have to address the housing shortage within the Osage Nation for all Osage families?
The housing shortage is definitely a problem. It's an issue throughout all Osage County. I understand that. I'm starting to hear homelessness. I'm starting to hear people that are sleeping on couches. I'm starting to hear stories about people that are displaced, whatever it may be. And is there emergency shelters that they can be in? I do like the looks of a no down payment on a rent to own, but we gotta understand a home is a home. And that's where your children are gonna be, that's where you're gonna cook your meals. And you have to make them look attractive. You have to make them in a neighborhood that has nice streets, nice sidewalks, nice landscaping, a place when you drive in, I can't believe this is my home now. I have a place to be. But once we get them in there, we need to support them. We need to see about them, and we need to be in constant contact with them about is everything being met, because it's a tough situation when you have someone that's homeless or someone that's needing a home. And we need them in Fairfax, we need them in Hominy, we need them here in Pawhuska. I'm not real sure about what we could do and other things we could do in other states. But let's start at home. Let's start right here. And we've got the land, we've got the lots, we've got the ability to build homes, nice homes for our people to occupy. Thank you.
1 minute rebuttals.
Just real quick, when I was talking to Mr. Wallace, I made it perfectly clear to him that I did not want to use any federal funding. And that reason being is because I lived in a housing project in Hominy, Oklahoma, thinking that I was tax-free from the state of Oklahoma because I was living in Osage tribal housing. No. That's not correct. If you use federal dollars, those federal dollars come from the feds down to the state. And then the state claims those dollars and then they dole them out to the tribes. So you're actually on state property. But if we use our own tribal monies, we don't have to jump through those kind of hoops. And I'm just talking about the homes. The roads, the curbs, the drainage, all that can be used by our roads. Our roads department can do that, utilizing our federal dollars. But I do not want any federal dollars going into our homes and us being told what to do and how to do it. I think we know how to do it.
So what Mr. BigHorse said is not true. The Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act was adopted in 1997. Before the Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act, the money did pass through tribes. We have something called the Oklahoma State Housing Authority Act. It's still good law. But NAHASDA, the federal law, allowed tribes to bypass the states. It used to be that the state housing authorities doled that money out to the tribes, and then the tribes to the people. It's no longer the case. Our money comes directly from HUD. There are only 2 state agency housing authorities in the state left that I know of, the Absentee Shawnee Housing Authority and the Seminole Nation Housing Authority, both of which were my clients. So the state's not part of the mix. I am grateful to the tribe for helping me buy my first home with the down payment assistance program, but I had to choose between living in North Tulsa and living in half of Skiatook, because half of Skiatook's in Tulsa County. It's not a good choice.
Okay, the other thing with affordable housing, it's always funding. We always got to have the resource to do it. I wish we had Osage Nation businesses flourishing at this moment in time, however, we do not. When that time comes, 5% of their revenue, we could make them give that to the nation and build affordable housing. 5% of the revenue that Osage Nation business generates, and dedicate other percentages of it to other places as well. It's all about funding. We have to be better at our economic development because we have problems with staffing, even in our new clinic with all the professionals that want to come here and work, want to have a place to live, a decent place to live. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your very thoughtful answers to our questions. We have 1 minute for closing statements each, and we'll start with Ms. GoodEagle.
When I was 6 years old, I met Chief Tinker in the basement of a church in Elton, Kansas. He was there campaigning. And I decided at that moment that I wanted to be the chief of the Osage Nation. And I've been told in life that there are plenty of things that I couldn't do, that I couldn't go to Harvard, that I couldn't be a lawyer, that I couldn't be a powwow princess because I didn't come from a big family and I didn't have anyone to give me nice clothes. And I did all those things. But my dream persists, and that's to lead this tribe and to help my people. And I have that on the top of my mind every day, and I want to use all the education and all the experience and all the skills that I have accumulated for your benefit. And I need your help. Because I'm a woman, and I'm from a small family, and I'm not from here, I'm from Kansas. please. Need your support. Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Osage News, for this opportunity to come and stand before all the constituents here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I want to make it clear, too, I'm going to ask for your vote and your support. If I become chief of the Osage Nation, I want you to know our biggest asset that we have is our employees. Our employees that we have right now up on that hill surrounding all of Osage County. And we must and we will take care of those folks properly in the way that they need to be taken care of. A huge priority of mine. So, having said that, thanks again to each and every one of you through this holiday season. Grasp your families, hold them near, keep them close, tell them how much you love them. Thank my family as well. Thank you, God.
Thank you, and I want to thank the election board for putting this debate on and the Osage News. Also, I just want to I want to talk about myself just a little bit. Everything that I've done from the time that I graduated from high school to date, I've always been able to start on a job and climb my way up that ladder and become a supervisor or a director. When I worked at Dick Connors Correctional Center, the prison down here, I was the first officer down there that was Officer of the Year for Dick Connor Correctional Center to go on to the Division I institution Correctional Officer of the Year. That was 12 different institutions, and I won that one. And that put me in the running for the Correctional Officer of the state of Oklahoma. And I was up against a seasoned veteran. He was 14 years, and he beat me. And rightfully so. I only had 4 years of experience. But I give up my all. I become a CERT commander. I led manhunts. I did a lot of those things like that. So thank you.
All right, please join me in thanking our candidates. And we'll take a break and come back at 2:30 for our Assistant Chief debate. Thank you.